What if the Philadelphia Eagles are about to trade one of their biggest stars right after a Super Bowl run? A.J. Brown isn't just in rumors, insiders believe this move is already in motion. And if it happens, it could completely reshape the entire NFL landscape. But the real reason behind this possible breakup is what nobody's openly talking about. What if the Philadelphia Eagles aren't rebuilding at all, but quietly setting up something even more dangerous? On the surface, moving on from A.J. Brown sounds like a step backward. You don't just replace a receiver like that. His physical dominance, his ability to take over games, his presence in big moments, it's rare. But inside the organization, the mindset seems very different. Because when you really look at it, the Eagles might believe they already have everything they need. Devonta Smith has proven he can be a true number one in stretches. His route running, separation, and consistency give this offense a completely different dimension. Then there's Hollywood Brown, a speed threat who can stretch defenses vertically and open up space underneath. Add in younger pieces stepping into bigger roles, and suddenly this doesn't look like a team losing a weapon, it looks like a team redistributing power. And that's where things get interesting. Instead of forcing a replacement in the draft, the Eagles could shift their focus entirely. This year's receiver class is deep, but not necessarily filled with guaranteed superstars. So rather than chasing a risky first-round wideout, they might target more impactful positions, defense, offensive line depth, or even future quarterback protection. It's a strategy built on balance, not headlines. But there's also risk hiding underneath all of this. Because no matter how deep your roster is, losing a player like A.J. Brown changes how defenses prepare for you. It changes how games are called. It changes the margin for error. And if the internal belief doesn't match reality, this smart move could unravel faster than anyone expects. And if that happens, this won't look like a strategy, it'll look like a massive miscalculation. What if the Buffalo Bills just made a move that looks smart on the surface, but could quietly hold them back when it matters most? Bringing in DJ Moore should feel like a major upgrade. He's productive, explosive, and capable of making big plays. But here's the uncomfortable question: what if he's not a true number one receiver? Because that's where the debate really begins. For years, the Bills have been searching for that dominant WR1 presence, someone defenses fear, someone who changes coverages before the snap. And while DJ Moore is undeniably talented, some analysts believe he fits better as a high-end complementary piece rather than the focal point of an offense. A player who thrives alongside a superstar, not necessarily as the superstar. Now normally, that would be a huge problem. But this isn't a normal situation because they have Josh Allen. And when you have a quarterback like Allen, the rules start to change. His arm strength, mobility, and ability to extend plays can elevate receivers beyond their limits. We've seen him carry offenses, create production out of nothing, and keep the Bills competitive even when the supporting cast isn't perfect. So the big question becomes, do you actually need a true WR1 or just enough weapons for Allen to work with? That's the gamble Buffalo is making. Instead of forcing a move for a top-tier receiver, they're leaning into flexibility, building a deeper, more balanced group, hoping that multiple solid options can replace the impact of one elite target. It's a different philosophy, and one that can work. But only if everything clicks. Because in the biggest moments in the playoffs, when defenses tighten and space disappears, that's when having a true number one becomes the difference. That go-to player, that reliable mismatch. And if DJ Moore isn't that guy, Buffalo might find themselves asking the same question all over again. And this time, the answer could decide whether their Super Bowl window finally closes. What if the Buffalo Bills have been trying to fix the wrong problem this entire time? For years, the conversation has been the same: get Josh Allen more weapons, find that true number one receiver, stack the offense until it's unstoppable. But what if that was never the real issue? Because when you go back and look at how their season actually ended, it wasn't the offense that let them down. It was the defense. In the biggest moments, when everything was on the line, Buffalo's defense couldn't hold up. Missed assignments, lack of pressure, injuries at key positions, it all added up at the worst possible time. And suddenly, it didn't matter how many points Josh Allen could put up because the other team kept answering right back. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. It's easier to blame the offense. Easier to say they just need one more receiver. But internally, the Bills seem to understand something different. They know that chasing a wide receiver in the draft, especially in a class without a clear, guaranteed superstar, is a gamble, and not the kind that fixes your biggest weakness. Instead, the smarter move might be building a defense that can actually close games. A unit that can generate pressure late, a secondary that doesn't break under playoff intensity. Because when you already have a quarterback like Josh Allen, your offense will find ways to score. That's almost a given. But stopping elite teams in January, that's a completely different challenge. And this is where their entire strategy shifts. Rather than forcing a flashy offensive pick, Buffalo could prioritize linebackers, pass rushers, or secondary help players who won't make headlines, but will make a difference when it matters most. It's not the exciting move, but it might be the necessary one. Because if they ignore this again, if they keep focusing on the wrong side of the ball, then no matter how explosive their offense becomes, the ending could look exactly the same. What if the most talented wide receiver in this entire draft is also the biggest risk? That's the exact dilemma teams are facing with Jordan Tyson. On pure ability alone, many believe he's the best in the class, an elite route runner, smooth, precise, and a young Stephon Diggs when he's at his absolute best. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. Tyson's injury history is raising serious concerns across the league. It's not just one setback, it's a pattern that teams can't ignore. And in the NFL, availability is just as important as talent. Front offices are asking a brutal question: can you really spend a high first-round pick on someone who might not stay on the field? That's where the draft gets complicated. Because if Tyson stays healthy, you're not just getting a good player, you're getting a game changer. The kind of receiver who can become a true number one. The kind defenses have to game plan around. Some teams see that upside and believe it's worth the gamble. After all, elite talent like this doesn't come around often. But not everyone is willing to take that risk. Safer options like Carnell Tate are climbing boards for a reason. He may not have Tyson's ceiling, but he offers reliability, consistency, and fewer question marks. For teams looking to avoid mistakes, that stability is valuable, especially in the first round where misses can set a franchise back for years. So now, it becomes a philosophical decision. Do you swing for the fences and risk it all for a potential superstar? Or do you play it safe and take the player you know will contribute? Because whichever path a team chooses, it won't just impact one season, it could define their future. And here's the part that makes this even more intense. All it takes is one team, one front office willing to bet on upside over certainty. The moment that happens, everything changes, not just for them, but for the entire draft board. And if that gamble pays off, it could completely reshape the power balance in the NFL overnight. What if the Dallas Cowboys are sitting on one of the most powerful draft positions in the entire league, and one wrong decision could set them back years? 2 first-round picks, 12 and 20. On paper, that's a dream scenario. A chance to reshape the roster instantly. But in reality, it's a pressure situation that could define their entire season. Because the Cowboys aren't just drafting for depth, they're drafting for survival. Last season exposed serious cracks, especially on the defensive side. Missed tackles, inconsistency, and a lack of impact players in key moments made it clear this defense isn't where it needs to be. And if they want to compete with elite teams, that has to change fast. That's why many believe the smartest move is simple: go defense with both picks. No hesitation, no distractions. But it's not that simple. Because this draft has something every team dreams about: elite, game-changing defensive talent. And if one of those players starts to slide, the temptation to go all-in becomes very real. Names like Sonny Styles are being talked about as potential difference makers. The kind of player who doesn't just improve your defense, he transforms it. So now the Cowboys face a high-risk decision. Do they stay patient, use both picks, and build depth across multiple positions? Or do they package those picks, move up, and chase one elite star? History suggests they prefer patience. They've made smart, calculated moves before, sometimes even trading back and still landing stars like Micah Parsons. But this situation feels different. Because they're not just building anymore, they're trying to win now. And in the NFL, sometimes playing it safe isn't enough to close the gap. Sometimes you need to take a bold swing. The problem: if that swing misses, the consequences are massive. And if the Cowboys get this wrong, it won't just hurt this season, it could delay their Super Bowl hopes even further. What if one of the most dominant defensive players in the NFL is being completely wasted? That's the uncomfortable reality surrounding Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. On talent alone, Garrett isn't just great, he's generational, a game wrecker, the kind of player offenses have to redesign their entire game plan around. And yet, it hasn't translated into anything meaningful. No deep playoff runs, no real contention, just flashes of greatness surrounded by inconsistency as a team. And that's where the controversy begins. Because while the Browns remain firm, they have no interest in trading him, many around the league are asking a much harder question: why not? From a business standpoint, it actually makes sense. Garrett's value has never been higher. He's in his prime, coming off dominant seasons, and could command a massive return, multiple first-round picks, young talent, and the kind of assets that can completely reshape a franchise. For a team with clear holes, especially at quarterback, that kind of rebuild package could be exactly what they need. But Cleveland isn't budging. Some believe it's about identity. You don't trade away a player like Myles Garrett and expect fans to accept it easily. Others think it's about hope, that somehow the team can figure things out fast enough to compete while he's still at his peak. And then there's another layer, one that isn't always said out loud. Because trading Garrett would be an admission. An admission that this version of the Browns isn't working. And that's a tough reality for any organization to face. Meanwhile, fans and analysts continue to debate. Some believe he deserves better, a real contender, a real shot at a Super Bowl. Others argue that keeping a generational talent is never the wrong move, no matter the circumstances. But as each season passes without progress, that argument gets harder to defend. Because at some point, the question stops being about loyalty or patience, and starts becoming about whether the Browns are holding onto greatness or wasting it completely. What if one of the greatest defensive players of this generation never gets the stage his talent deserves? That's the growing concern around Myles Garrett. Because when you look at what he's done individually, it's historic. Nearly 100 career sacks, constant double teams, game after game of dominance. And yet, almost all of it has come on losing teams. And that changes how greatness is remembered. Because in the NFL, legacy isn't just about stats, it's about moments. Playoff runs, Super Bowl appearances, the biggest stages where legends are made. That's why names like Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White are always part of the conversation, not just because they were dominant, but because they delivered when it mattered most. Garrett has shown he belongs in that tier talent-wise, but he hasn't had the opportunity to prove it in January. And that's where things start to feel complicated. Some fans believe loyalty matters, that staying with the Cleveland Browns and trying to build something meaningful carries its own value. Others aren't so convinced. They see a generational talent stuck in a situation that hasn't produced results, and they wonder how long that can continue before it impacts how he's viewed historically. Because fair or not, it will. The longer this continues, the louder the he saval inus becomes. Can a player truly be considered one of the greatest ever without postseason success? It's not just about ability anymore, it's about visibility, narrative, and moments that define careers. And here's the harsh reality. The NFL doesn't wait. Careers move fast, windows close quickly, and if the right situation never comes, even the greatest talents can end up being remembered for what they could have been instead of what they actually achieved. That's what makes this situation so tense. Because right now, Myles Garrett is building a Hall of Fame resume, but without the defining chapter that turns greatness into legend. And if that chapter never comes, the debate around his legacy may never truly be settled.